You weren't born to be beige, so why are you blending in like a rental car interior? Today we're going to talk a little bit about some research, some real talk, personal stories, metaphor. I'm going to give you that challenge like I do every week, because we're talking about why we dim our brilliance when we feel judged or the fear of being too much. I'm going to tell you initially, my first story is about Billy. We took Billy to the movies when he was 5. He turned 5. It was his treat. It's my partner's grandson. He was so excited. He'd sat on the front deck. Well, actually, he was in his lounge room looking out the window for about 2 hours before we got there. And he was all dressed up in his Sonic the Hedgehog clothes. So he had a Sonic watch on, a Sonic t-shirt, he had Sonic shorts on, he had Sonic underwear on, he showed me. He had Sonic socks, Sonic shorts, and Sonic shoes. And they weren't the real ones. The other ones his dad had actually made. He gone and bought a cheaper pair because apparently they were about $80 or something for the Sonic the Hedgehog shoes. And he was going to go out of them because he's 5 and his feet were growing so much. Anyway, he had an Avengers cap on, which I didn't quite get. He runs straight past Granddad, straight to me to show me all what he was wearing. And he was so excited because, you know, we're his favourite people and we were taken to the movies. So we get in the car and off we go. And we pull up and he's jibber jabber all the way, like so much to tell us, so excited. And as we start walking through the shopping mall to the big event cinema, he was looking at himself, lots of reflections. And he was admiring himself. And the more he looked, the more he started to strut. He was doing this very cool strut. He naturally has a strut anyway. He loves who he is. So there he is doing his wee strut. And I actually took a wee video of him because he just looks so cute. And he didn't care. He wasn't skiting. He wasn't anything. He was just being him. And he was looking at himself, admiring himself, thinking, yeah, I'm pretty cool. Look at me go. I've got life nailed today. And I'm going to have my best day. And then we sit down in the movies. And before we get there, you know, he got all the lollies that he wanted, which probably his parents may not have loved the idea of that. I'm not sure. But anyway, we sit in the movies. We didn't last very long because the trailers are about 20 minutes and he's only 5. So sort of about 10 minutes into the movie, he asked me if we could go now. And then we ended up playing Sonic the Hedgehog in the foyer for the next, probably hour. But the takeaway for me from there was, you know, we all need to be a little bit more like Billy. You know, we all need to love ourselves, love our reflection, love who we are. We downplay ourselves so often at networking events, at work meetings, at team meetings. And it's not always that we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of success with a spotlight. It can be, but we dim our light. And I want you to think about where you are in life, what it is that you do, whether you're a business owner, whether you're in a team working environment and you've got meetings, whether you're a mum attending mother groups or whatever, you know, whatever phase of motherhood you're at, school activities, after school activities, committee meetings, you know, you're the manager of the First 11 sports team. I'm starting to go through all the things that I used to do. You're at weekend surf club events, whatever your children are dragging you along to. But even in business or just in maybe a hobby that you have, for me, you know, attending Toastmasters, not afraid to put my hand up, not afraid to. I'm not telling myself a story that I'm not good enough and that I need to dim my light. I'm telling myself a story that's like, you got this, girl. You have got this, just like Billy thought. Billy thought, I got this. He didn't even think that people were judging him or looking at him. He was not dimming his light. So reflect on your life, business, personal, home, wherever. Where are you dimming your light and why? You know, the metaphor, we can go from the disco ball or the light bulb. You know, are you a light bulb with a dimmer or are you a disco ball? You weren't meant to shine in one direction. You're meant to reflect brilliance everywhere. So, you know, why do we control our wattage? A lot of the time it's to make others feel more comfortable. We dumb ourselves down in meetings, we dress smaller, we speak less confidently, we withhold our wins. You dim for people who wouldn't celebrate you at full power anyway. I had a interesting thing happen in the last few weeks because I have gone back to Toastmasters. For those of you that have listened, we're up to about episode 85 or something now, or maybe more. But and I went along and then I stopped for a while and I've just gone back. And I just put my hand up when they ask a question to do something, I just put my hand up. I just step in. I just do that. But what I've learned when I've done that, it's actually helped me grow. It's actually helped me become more confident. It's actually helped me get through my comfort zone. It's helped me so much more. And the more you do it, the more you do it. And the week before, somebody said to me that they feel really uncomfortable there, and they go because they want to get better, and they just don't feel like they're very good at it, and they have anxiety the whole time. So that was the last meeting. At this meeting, this person was amazing. She was actually skipping, to hand the microphone. It wasn't just a walk over and gently hand. She had a skip as good as Billy's strut. She was smiling. She absolutely enjoyed it. And afterwards, I said to her, "Wow, that was awesome. You did such a good job tonight." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, that means so much coming from you." I'm like, I'm just another person there. You did a really great job." And I said, "Why do you think that you're not that good? You mentioned last week that you are so nervous." I said, "You didn't look nervous tonight." She goes, "Well, I wasn't." And I just wondered, I said to her, maybe you're running with an old story there. Maybe that story about you not having the confidence isn't true. Maybe you're dimming your light in your head. Maybe you're telling yourself something that really is just so not true. So is it because she's worried about what other people might think of her? Maybe. And I want you to reflect on you. Like, where are you like this? Where do you dim your light? Where do you think you're not good enough? Where do you keep it down so others don't judge you? There are varying reasons we do that. But where are you doing that? And I really like that saying that the dim people wouldn't celebrate you at full power anyway. And that is something we really need to understand. Not everybody's going to like you. And I know for some personalities, especially the clowns, they have that need to be liked. That's the high I on the disc profile. The people that are quite energetic and fun and moving forward, there is that tendency to need people to like them, and it matters. And I'm probably a bit like that myself, but I do realize that I'm not for everybody. I do realize that I'm a bit of a powerhouse, bit of a mover and shaker, and that can be intimidating, and it can create jealousy. And so I used to sometimes dim my light, but not anymore. And I want that for you. I want you to realize that you don't need to dim your light. There is research and psychology around the spotlight effect. And it was coined by psychologist Thomas Gilovich, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, and Kenneth Savitsky. And it's the idea that we overestimate how much people are actually noticing us. And in reality, they're so busy worrying about themselves. And what they did is they got people to walk into a room wearing a Barry Manilow t-shirt, and these people were so embarrassed. They made sure it looked wrong, and it turned out that no one really noticed. So when you believe that you're not doing so well, or you're failing or something, or you're not good enough, most of the time people are so wound up thinking about themselves. You think about you. You're thinking about what they might think of you. They're thinking about what other people think of them. And that's something really important we must take forward. So much of that is proving that this stuff is going on in your head. And then I want to address tall poppy syndrome, which is quite relevant in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm recording this in Australia, but I'm from New Zealand, so both of those audiences fit with me. And there is research that shows that high achievers get cut down for not for what they're doing wrong, but for daring to rise, that tall poppy syndrome. And it's like when you're doing well and you're pushing forward, people sort of want to bring you back down to their level. And again, I think you need to realize that those people are not for you. And too often in life, we hold on to people or friends or acquaintances because we think they are for us, and they're not. If they don't have your back, if they have different values than you do, if they don't support you, if they're not behind you, they're not for you. And that's okay. There are billions of people in this world. So there are plenty of people to go around, and there are just more. And we outgrow people. When you grow, not everyone grows with you. Brene Brown's quote, "When we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we get to write the ending." We have to own who we are. And that's when we get to choose how our future looks. If you have something on the inside, if you know who you are, but you're constantly trying to dim your light or change to fit in with how other people want you to be, you're not going to create the story you want. You're basically being a cameo in somebody else's movie. You're an extra. You have to live life your way. Do it your way. They're not on your journey. Remember, your life is your journey, and people will come in and go out of it, and that's life. That is just life. So you have to live life your way, not worrying about what other people think of you or toning yourself down to make them feel more comfortable. I want to talk about imposter syndrome as well. And in high achieving women, the emotional tax of code switching, self-censorship, or toning it down in male industries is huge. And especially the industry I'm in, the property development industry. It's so male dominated. In fact, we had a meeting this morning signing the build contract for a set of 16 industrial units that we're building. And the last meeting was me and 4 guys. And I thought it would be the same thing today. But today it was me and 4 guys. And he brought his wife. The builder actually brought his wife. So it was nice. There were 2 of us at the table. And she said, oh, great to see a bit more girl power at the table. And that was true. And when we do things like that, when we support each other, it actually eliminates that imposter syndrome. You know, we didn't have to, now I'm a boy, now I'm a girl. I so often feel like I'm in the industry of I'm acting so much in a male world. I am, censoring myself. I'm quite careful at what I say in some ways, but I do believe I've kind of mastered the art to shine as me in this industry. So let's look at you, as I always like to. Visibility is a service. It's not a selfish act. Your light might be the reason someone else's light can shine too. When you show people that you're not afraid to shine, people around you will shine also. You know, when you won't put your hand up in that meeting or you don't say that thing you want to say, you might not be the only one. And when you do that, you show others that they can too. Give it a go. I want to challenge you that. I want you to think about, why are you dimming your light? And are you dimming your light? Who are you doing it for? Are those people even really watching it, watching your light? Or are they not? Is it just in your head, like the Barry Manilow t-shirt? Do they matter? You don't need permission to be brilliant, but you need to fire the fake audience in your head telling you to dim your light. One last story, which was the inspiration for this podcast this week, was a client reached out to me and they'd recently moved to a different job and they're doing a fabulous job at this new role. And the person before them and the culture where they work isn't like that, isn't as progressive and, self-challenging. And she really pushes herself to be excellent. And she said to me, I'm concerned. I'm getting the feeling in meetings that people don't want me to speak up. But remember, she was used to speaking up and she's used to owning her own space and doing what it is that she wants to do, saying what she wants to say. If she believes it will add value, if it's good for the business, then she wants to do it. But she was feeling like others around her didn't want her to. And I actually texted her because it came through. The text I sent back was quite strong. My reply: be yourself. You don't need to change or shrink for anyone. You've got amazing ideas and you have natural confidence. Don't let it fade because of what you think others might be thinking. Not everyone is going to be your person, and that's okay. The right ones will appreciate you exactly as you are. Don't try to please everyone. Just be you, because that's who you are. Never let anyone dim your light. And that's the whole reason I did this podcast, because I think many of us have this happen. We change who we are because we're worried about what other people may think. And like I pointed out, it can be in any situation. But if you are happy with who you are, like if you're a good person and you're solid and you want to increase things and become more confident and reach out, then you do that. Never dim your light to make the others around you feel more comfortable. So this week's challenge, are we ready? Okay, we've got to post, we've got to speak, we've got to share, we've got to show up one notch brighter. One notch brighter than usual this week. And I want you to tell someone about your win. I want you to wear the bold lipstick. Look at me. I always wear the red lipstick. That is almost my trademark. You barely see me without it on. You've got to raise your rates. If you're doing something and you think you're worth more, then be worth more. You've got to apply for that thing that you want. and you've got to shine without shrinking. I want you to tag me if you do a post on Instagram and let me know it's your no dim moment. Show me a no dim moment. I want you to stop shrinking to fit into rooms you've already outgrown. And sometimes we do. Or maybe you're in a room and it's time you just showed them who you really are. I challenge you. You were born to take up space. Take up space mentally, take up space emotionally, take up space financially, and take up space physically. Take up that space. There is so much space out there. I'm in a room now, it's huge, and I'm the only one here. There is so much spare space. You need to take it up. And dimming your light will not make others shine. You got that? When you dim your light, it doesn't make others shine. And it doesn't make them shine brighter. It actually keeps everyone in the dark. So you need to shine the light so everyone can see the light. And you know what? One last one-liner, my favorite zinger of the day. Being too much is better than being forgettable. That's what I say. I always point out, when somebody says, "Oh, she's nice," I would never like to be called nice. Icing is nice. I want to be memorable. If you meet me, you'll be like, "I remember her." Like, "Oh, she's nice." No, you need to be unforgettable because you've got to stop dimming the light and you've got to start to shine. So what I would like you to do, as usual, you post and tag me in it. I would absolutely love that. The other thing I'd like you to do is I always ask is text a friend, tell them how amazing they are. Love for you to do that. I would love for you to share this podcast with somebody that you think needs to shine a little bit brighter. You know they have that shine, but you know they're just not doing it. They've dimmed and they're really a disco ball in hiding. I want you to do that. And I'd love for you to reach out for me and let me know if you do. Well, you're going to tag me, but let me know if this has impacted you in some way. And take that forward, not just as a one-off for this week, but as a for always, for every week. Because you weren't born to be dim. You weren't born to be beige. You were born to shine. All right, my friends, I hope this resonates with you. And I hope you get something useful from this. And I want you to go out there and shine like the bright, shining star you are and be just that little bit more like Billy, looking at his reflection, loving himself, and doing the strut. Catch you next week.